Let's talk about Jason Verrett, the Niners corners, and Jason Garrett, and maybe a little Daniel Jones talk, a little Sam Darnold. We'll go off the Niners a little bit.
Okay.
Let's start with Verrett.
So let's start with Verrett. He looked good yesterday, I thought.
Yes.
He looked good. Now, I think a better test would be not next week versus the Eagles because they don't really have anybody either. But the Rams are going to be the biggest test for him. But it's really positive to see him get through that game healthy, not give up any big plays. I'm sure it helped his confidence. Dante Johnson, I don't think very highly of, but he seemingly had an okay game yesterday because he didn't blow the game.
Pass intended for Slayton, I think, on the slant.
Right.
Yeah.
Which brings me to Jason Garrett. All right. I'm not gonna excoriate him immediately because I don't know. Maybe he was calling deep shots and their offensive line couldn't block or Daniel Jones didn't throw the ball. But it was a little alarming to me to see with Daniel Jones the fact that they're playing two corners that haven't started since 2017. And a lot of these third downs, they're basically playing in your face man coverage, and you don't take any shots with a pretty okay quarterback. And Darius Slayton was pretty good.
You got matchup advantages. What are you doing?
You have to at least make them make the play in the air, draw the pass interference, make Daniel Jones throw it once over the top.
Make him respect it. You might get a little space underneath to throw those 5-yard passes.
And I think he still thinks he has Ezekiel Elliott, where if he calls run up the middle on first down, Ezekiel Elliott will just magically find a hole and plow through two guys, and now you're in 2nd and 6. Yeah. But that's not how it is anymore, which brings me to something I'm extremely passionate about, as you know. And I think it's something that you're also passionate about. We talked about the phone. I would like to hear your opinion on it first. But the way the media perceives and projects quarterbacks based on their pre-draft opinion and the dichotomy in the way the two New York quarterbacks are covered that way.
Right. Because what happened was Sam Darnold, the media decided Sam Darnold was great a year before he got drafted. When he was a redshirt freshman at USC, everyone was like, oh, suck for Darnold. He's going to be the number 1 pick next year. And every person who thought he was a draft guru had an opinion about him. No one had an opinion about Daniel Jones. He was a late riser. He was under the radar. When the Giants took him, everyone was like, well, he wasn't on my draft board.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Was better.
Right. So everyone who's like a draft guru watches him and crushes him to validate their own lack of homework, lack of preparation and knowing what he would be. And then they look at Darnold and blame all of his inadequacies on Gase because they said Darnold would be good, and they don't want to say they're wrong, right?
Right. And it's so frustrating because Jones has the same – I mean, just take yesterday. I know Jones is a little bit of a turnover machine, but the 2 turnovers yesterday, the first one I thought – I mean, again, I don't know for sure. I'm just watching the game on TV, but I thought it was just a terrible – they drew up a terrible play because I don't know what world you run a pitch where Caden Smith runs into your quarterback before he pitches it, and then Evan Ingram drops the pitch. So I don't know what world that works. And then the second one, Fred Warner said after the game, he said that Jaquaski Tart told him that they were going to run. They knew it was a route combination they'd studied, and Jaquaski Tart told him that they were going to call that play. And he ran the route and intercepted the ball. And it's like, okay, maybe Jones doesn't throw that ball, but I mean, that's hard to blame your quarterback if the play caller is not helping him that way. But with Darnold, there's a few greatness moments of just absolute greatness.
The touchdown pass against the Niners, rolling to his left. That was cool.
Right. And then he had a throw yesterday. So then people say, oh, free Sam Darnold from Adam Gase. But he was also pretty pathetic versus the Niners for a lot of that game. It's not Gase that misses open receivers. It's Darnold.
Right. So we were talking on the phone about the difference between a guy like Darnold and Mullins. Darnold has to flash 1 or 2 times a game, and then he's cool. Right. Mullins can't do that. Mullins has to be, when you said he had to be like 3 times as good, basically. Right. So just to keep the job.
Right. And to even be acknowledged, because that's just what draft position does in the NFL.
Yes. You're the 3rd pick in the draft. You're going to get coaches fired. You're going to get more opportunities than your coaches are going to get. And you may end up being a bit of a coach killer.
Right. And it's look, I don't think it's fair to have a particular opinion on Sam Darnold right now because his situation does suck. I just think that the coverage that he gets is the coverage that every quarterback in that situation needs to get. It's something Alex Smith did not get, something Daniel Jones is not getting.
No.
And I just think that it would be more fair if all quarterbacks are covered that way.
Well, let's talk about Josh Allen. I mean, who has received more ridicule than Josh Allen? I mean, on Twitter, he's a bum, and all they show is the times that he misses receivers by 3, 4, 5 yards.
Right.
But he's actually really good.
And his running does not get any credit.
No.
Like, I don't know what this obsession is with not counting quarterbacks' running stats as part of what they do. The guy's giving you 450 yards and 5 touchdowns running. Hell yeah, he's helping your team.
Yes, he is.
I think, to me, Josh Allen is Cam Newton part 2. And the reason I say this is, 1, because he's so physically gifted, and 2, because he was drafted by Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, who are both from Carolina. So my assumption is, without knowing anything, that they envision him that way.
Using the same way.
Yeah, and he's just a freak.
Yeah.
He's just a freak.
It's just amazing to me that Baker Mayfield was the #1 pick in the draft 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And Josh Allen was like, well, you don't really know if his skill set's going to translate.
Same thing with Lamar. Like, they were the freaky athletes in that draft.
Yeah.
And Lamar played in the pro-style offense with Bobby Petrino, too. That was messed up.
So messed up. And now I think the league has figured out that you need an athlete at the quarterback position. If you don't have an athlete at the quarterback position, he better have a brain like Nick Mullins. He better be able to process information extremely quickly. Otherwise, he's going to get hit. He's going to get hurt. He's going to commit turnovers. And it's going to be the offensive line's fault, the coordinator's fault. It's just, for these pocket passers to work out, I feel like they kind of have to be like Brady, in one system for a long time. You build up comfort with the coaches and the players. And in the NFL, like, there's so many moving parts these days. Like, a lot of these guys just don't get the right situation to flourish that they would need. And for whatever reason, these athletes just come in and tear it up.